This is the Team Objection podcast for July 15th, 2021, episode 491. We're recording this after Game 4 of the NBA Finals. The wind's been taken out of our sails a little bit, but I can promise you at least one person has won something over the course of this episode.
Not me.
We'll get to that later. Let's start with the Suns because we have things to get off of our chest. First of all, I'm scared and the finals are not as much fun as they were about 6 days ago. That's all I have to say about that. Let's actually get into some analysis, shall we? All of a sudden, it's Wednesday night after the game as we're recording this, so this episode's coming out pretty fresh. It's 2-2. Everybody's done what was expected. They've won their home games, and now Game 5 is coming up on Saturday. How scared are you?
Are you actually scared?
A little bit.
A little bit, yes. It's the home court advantage matters. I think is a huge factor in this. Clearly the Bucks didn't play as well on the road as they did at home. We didn't play as well on the road as we did at home, even though we had the best road record in the league this year. It seemingly matters, but I'm just a little more scared for the fact of Booker had an all-time game and we didn't win, and Chris Paul seems to have had his power stolen by the Goon Squad, I think is the new name for him, right?
Yeah, not an especially good game from him. We lavished praise on him after Game 1 because that was the last time we recorded. Yeah, deserved it. Since then, he's been average, pretty bad, and really bad.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way
It's
to
actually
sugarcoat
trending down, yeah.
the Game 4 performance. I think if he's even mediocre, we win that game.
Yep.
There's a lot of other factors. We had a ton of turnovers. The Bucks had almost none. Our three-point shooting was abysmal. The starting lineup's contributions were minimal outside of obviously Booker and then Jay Crowder. I don't think anybody else. Ayton, good defensively, good rebounding, 5 assists. Can't take away too much from him, but offensively he was almost non-existent.
Yep.
Mikal Bridges was invisible. So, there's some things that you can point to that don't make it look so bad. We are going back home. We should play better there, and winning Game 5 it puts us in a fantastic position still. But it's concerning, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think the concerning thing is it's a best-of-3 series, like it says in the title line here. I mean, this is one of those we had done so well in Game 1 and 2. We controlled the series. We've lost control of the series now. I mean, I guess if you want to look at it in the sense that we have home court advantage the rest of the way, that's in our favor, but the momentum's no longer on our side, even though everyone just kind of did what they were supposed to.
You know what I keep going back to as I think about this? I mean, I say that like I've been doing it for a while when the game ended like 15 minutes ago, but thank God it's not 2-3-2.
Yeah.
Because then you want to talk about all the momentum, and then the Bucks have another home game after this, and yeah, they'd have to win. We have 6 and 7 at home, but I don't miss 2-3-2, and this is a good example of why, because you can really use that momentum to your advantage. I mean, obviously you get 4 games at home either way, but I'm glad it's at least 5 in Phoenix to try and stop the bleeding.
Yeah, the old 2-3-2 method. I think people were saying consistently. Yeah, this actually favors the non-home team, like the team with the worst record. Because you just steal one at home and all of a sudden you can close out at home, which is just wrong.
I don't know how to feel. Because like you said, everyone's just done what they were supposed to do, really. And we had this game. If you think back, it's really the first game that it feels like we should have won and we didn't in this entire playoffs. Every game that felt like we should have won, we did. And when we lose, it's like, nah, like we were usually blown out.
And we even won a couple of the ones we should have lost, like the 8 noob. So if anything, it was working in our favor that way. And I think that's part of why we were so confident coming out of the last show. Now, all of a sudden, it does feel like this was the first time, at least it was winnable. We never had a huge lead in the second half. It was pretty close the entire way. I think the biggest lead was 8 or 9. And it never really felt like we had a stranglehold on this game. I felt like we were holding them off, and then eventually the levee broke. But even so, it does feel like a missed opportunity because to me, what I kept going back to was like, we got blown out in Game 3. It was bad. But all we really wanted to do was steal one in Milwaukee. As much as Suns in 4 was a meme, I didn't expect to win both there. And so and coming into tonight, you could be like, well, that game sucked, but hey, we win tonight, all is forgiven. Well, we didn't win tonight, and now we still have a slight advantage, but if we lose Game 5, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, my concern is... And again, like why I don't know how to feel. Booker came out. I think he allayed everyone's fears. He had a all-time great finals game. And so you're like, he's fine. Meanwhile, I don't know what's going on with Chris Paul. I don't know what's happening. It's not Drew Holiday. I don't think so personally. Like, he's making mistakes unless you're just going to say he's so exhausted from having to deal with him the whole game, which that's another problem. It's not really good. That means he's old and he can't hack it anymore. I don't know what's going on. It's just stupid plays, bad shooting. Like, is he hurt or is he in a funk?
Here's how I know it's not Drew Holiday. Drew guarded Booker most of the second half. After Book got hot in the third and fourth quarter, Drew switched onto Book. And Chris Paul dribbled the ball up his foot 4 times. And a Hall of Fame player as Chris Paul will likely be, that can't happen. Not in the finals.
And I mean, I'm sure you saw there was a handful of other times where he bobbled it, he managed to keep possession. It's like, what is it the wrist? Is it the hand? Is it the ligaments? Yeah, and I would say I wouldn't think so because of game 6 of the last series and game 1 now in this series. But then 2, 3, 4, he has been bad. I don't know what to do about that. And so that has me worried. If we were going home and I had like confidence that we were going to play up to our level, I wouldn't be that worried. And I don't know that I'm worried right now. I was hoping you guys would talk me off the ledge, but you're as unsure as I am.
Well, the problem I have right now, and I guess you can look at this one of two ways. We had Booker score nearly half of our points. For most of the game, Booker had about half of our points consistently. Like, Booker was the only offensive option we had outside of a few Jay Crowder threes, and Cam Johnson stepping up. I mean, I can't give enough praise to that kid for what he's done so far this playoffs in his reserve role. But you can look at it two ways of, okay, well, Booker played really well, and we unfortunately wasted a great game. Everyone else should step up next game. This is 2 games in a row where Mikal hasn't done that well on the offensive end. This is 2 games in a row where Ayton has, I guess, a game and a half where Ayton hasn't had a good offensive game. He had a good offensive first half in game 3. And then Chris Paul just is having this downward trajectory. And so you can look at it as, yep, everyone's going to bounce back. We'll be fine back at home. Everyone will be rejuvenated. Another 3 days of rest. We're all good. Or, this is a bad trend. So I don't know which way to look at this right now.
It's concerning to me that Devin Booker was legendary and Giannis was not very good, and we didn't get the win. And it was stolen. Like, we had the game the whole time. But still, you look at that and you're like, we can't pull off that game?
I mean, Chris Middleton was amazing. I had
to push back a little bit on the Giannis wasn't amazing thing. He wasn't as good as he was in games 2 and 3. The dude still put up 28, 14, and 9 with 3 steals and 2 blocks. Now, I'm not saying he can't or might not be better than that. And again, we just saw 2 all-time performances from him. But it wasn't like he was a Chris Paul tonight.
No, certainly not.
Like, he maybe could have played a little bit better, and he definitely looked like he was winded at times, less assertive at times. But I think that, like, Ayton's defense deserves some credit for that too. And I'm not I'm not trying to diminish the entire point. I just look at that line and I'm like, they got everything they needed from him and Middleton, and only one of our 2 stars showed up tonight, and that's really the difference to me.
Yeah,
it's true. And I mean,
how many shots did Middleton take? 32.
Middleton took 33. He was 15 of 33 for 40 points. Yeah. I mean,
and I can't even get that mad. A lot of them were contested. He just great player making big shots.
Yep.
Drew Holiday was 4 for 20.
4 of 20.
Yeah, I mean, he was terrible.
Drew is good on defense. I mean, he makes everybody work, and he is proving his value on defense. But offensively, he has been just awful.
Nightmarish. Obviously that passes the eye test, but I wouldn't have guessed it was that bad. That's like Kemba Walker bad.
Dave, you were a ref, so I like to run these through you. I don't know if I have seen a worse officiated game in a while. Just the whole, I'm not blaming it on the refs at all. I think it was bad for both teams consistently the entire game. It was inconsistent calls. It was a bunch of missed shit. Like the ball, Devin Booker, clearly it goes off PJ Tucker, right? But then Devin Booker clearly, almost intentionally fouls Drew Holiday, would have been his 6th, which was colossally stupid.
Yes.
But then they didn't call that either. So I'm like, it was just like the refs were, it was like a bad performance the whole way through on something that, like, you just call, like, you should have rules and that you just, like, call it. It seems like it shouldn't be that hard to me.
I usually lean back on the phrase of this is an extremely difficult game to officiate. It is the hardest sport, I think, in the world to officiate. These guys are huge. They're fast. They know how to manipulate their movements in ways no other athletes can. However, there were a lot of inconsistencies, like you said, and there was stuff where, Ayton is going straight up, arms up.
That's
Giannis hits him in the chest and gets a foul called him. Now, it didn't end up mattering in the long run. Ayton never really got in foul trouble. But there's things that happen like that. Or, I think Booker got called for a foul where he was just sliding his feet right along with Middleton and got called for a foul from it. And I don't understand the call. There was one the one that made me the most mad, I think, was the one where the one I was talking about earlier with Ayton, where he just put his hands up, Giannis in the chest. The trail referee called that.
Yeah.
The referee from the back called that one. And that makes me more upset when with a referee's team than anything. You don't call fouls out of your position. That's not your area, trail referee. The center referee or the baseline or the lead referee calls that. When stuff like that happens, that gives me a lack of faith in the officiating crew. When stuff like that, which is mechanical, which is procedural, when they screw that up, judgment calls happen. But you can't have procedural stuff.
I just don't think Milwaukee fans were pleased with the officiating, and I know the Suns fans weren't either. And usually that's not the case. But normally it's one team is oh, stop bitching, it was fine. This one, I think both are going to be this sucked. I don't know. It's a side tangent, but.
It sucks for the narrative. I mean, it sucks for the narrative, really, too, because you get this big stage where people are interested in. I mean, honestly, I thought it was a good basketball game. Both teams played pretty well outside of, I'd say, Chris Paul and Drew Holiday for the most part, but they still had their own contributions. But it puts this damper and this whole just cloud over the fact of wow, Booker should have fouled out. Wow, they missed that call that then led to Booker's fifth foul. They missed this call. They missed that call. I don't understand how the NBA in the finals doesn't say, look, here's our three best referees for the season. You guys do the whole series. You got it. Run with it. You're the three best referees. Or maybe two sets of referees and you just rotate them game in, game out, or have some sort of rotation there. Because why do you need 20 different officials to work the finals? Get your three best referees, graded objectively throughout the season. You do the last 2-minute report. You do grading referees. Get your best referees out there.
I think the NBA is going to have to take a hard look at itself in the mirror in this offseason because, as Suns fans well know, half of our games have been mired in some kind of controversy or mired in long reviews or bogged down to the point of being unwatchable. I mean, how many different examples are there now? 6? In how many ever games we've played? 20? That's an awful high percentage when you want people to be having their eyes on your biggest and most important games of the year. Now, luckily, this one wasn't like those where it was, again, like this, every time we turn around, people are twirling their fingers and we're going to a review. But at the end of the day, it still came down to some borderline stuff. I mean, we lost this game because we weren't good enough. So I'm with Shaun where I'm not really blaming the refs. But there's 2 consecutive awful calls there in a time where we could still maybe come back, where Giannis is inbounds when he's throwing the ball in, and they're not trying to foul. Cam Johnson's literally just fucking standing there. And because they're anticipating a foul, they're calling one, and we're trying to trap because we're down 4, and extending the game doesn't do us any good.
Yep.
Now, if that was a one-possession game when that happened, I would be livid right now. As it was, we were already in terrible shape, and it probably wouldn't have mattered. But I look at that, and I go, man, there is just too much that is not dependent on the players on the floor, and that is frustrating for fans. I think any team.
It's like a ref is supposed to take an unbiased eye, right? But things are, so they were expecting the foul to come, so they called it. A ref shouldn't be doing that. They should just be locked into the moment. And then Booker, it felt like, oh, well, we can't give him his 6th foul. We can't foul him out. So we're going to let him, again, it was an intentional foul. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. But they didn't call it because they didn't want to foul him out. But they should have called it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't, but they should have.
It's something I think I've been taught by referees, is that you have to anticipate the foul, but only put air in the whistle when you see it. You have to anticipate what's coming and be ready, because you can't miss the call. But you do not blow your whistle unless you know you saw it. And that foul on Cam Johnson was absolutely, oh, well, they got a foul here. Oh, here he comes, tweet. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not going to matter. Like Chris said.
I took us down that tangent, but
and it's not. But again, it's not us as Suns fans complaining about
the
situation.
No, we just played like shit, and that's kind of what I want to get back to. Is so what are our feelings heading into the next 3 games? You guys are pretty honest usually. I think you tell me if we're taking the Bucks now, but I want to hear it.
First, I didn't change the thing on the side. It's still last week, so I fucked up. It still says freak because like it's the Greek freak, but I guess it still kind of works.
Kind of a freak accident.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyways, my expert analysis will tell you that Game 5 is really important, and that's why people tune in, because they really want that in-depth stuff. I come out as thinking that we have to play better at home, and honestly, if we lose Game 5, we don't deserve to win the championship anyways. So to me, this has to be a lay everything out on the floor. My biggest concern, not really knowing where we stand with Chris Paul's health, is that you have to give him credit on one hand for fighting through stuff, but I do not want to see a repeat of the Lakers series when he's not anywhere near 100% and he's actively hurting the team by playing. Yeah. I would rather see him sit than grit it out if he's going to be looking like this. And, by the time Game 5 of the Lakers series rolled around, he had gotten more right to the point where he looked at least something like himself. The shooting wasn't quite there yet, but he could at least run the floor. It's looking just like then, where he can't even dribble the fucking ball.
Yep.
And that is a huge red flag to me. So that's my biggest concern. I don't even have a prediction for you going into Game 5. It's just, if he's going to be anywhere close to this level, we're in trouble because he's going to play 30 minutes.
Yep. I'll second that analysis of whoever wins Game 5 has a really good shot to win the championship, I would say.
Yeah, but I want your call. Chris beat you to it, and he can get away with it, but now you have to give me a prediction.
But now you should do that after he's done to really rub it in.
So, I mean, the way I look at it, I think our defensive strategy this game was actually really good. Yeah. I liked our defense this game.
For the most part.
Was fantastic defensively against Giannis. I mean, Giannis had the numbers there, but he wasn't the force that he was in the previous games.
Yep.
So I think we've kind of done a good job with Giannis. Middleton just hit tough shots, a lot of really, really tough shots. And again, we made him shoot a lot of shots too. I mean, Booker had 42, I think, on 24 shots, and Middleton had 40 on 33 shots. So I think defensively we've got it. Chris Paul has got to learn how to dribble a basketball again. And I think that as players like Mikal Bridges and Cam Payne, I think are going to get a good boost from being back at home. So I really think we have a very good shot at winning Game 5. We've played well at home. Our crowd was going to be on fire, I think, coming back home. If Chris Paul plays like this again, we can't win. And I don't know if I can make a prediction. It's just that's what it comes down to.
I asked you, you have to make a prediction.
If I had to make a prediction, I can't say that Chris Paul is going to play like I would if I were thrown out there in the NBA Finals again. So I think we will win Game 5 because I think we're going to get the boost from being at home.
I think it's mental with Chris Paul, which is strange to me because he's so seasoned. I mean, and like this is. I'm not saying we made a mistake or anything, but like this is why we brought him in. It's like the poise, and it's like little things when he's like when they read his lips, like I'm gonna shoot it. To me, that's not like my wrist is hurting, so I can't shoot it. It's like I'm making bad plays. I need to just like get in there and shoot the ball, and it's like what's going on? Why? I don't know. It's so weird.
Just from the eye test, I don't feel like the Bucks are doing anything super different on him. They're not trapping. They're not swarming. They're not like rotating off-ball help in a way that I think should be confusing to him as far as reading the floor. But he's had, 11 turnovers in the last 2 games from the guy who's never averaged more than 3 a game in a season in his entire career. So something's up, whether it's mental or physical or both. It's concerning.
And I actually loved what the Suns did this game to combat the full court pressure that Jrue Holiday was doing. We were getting up and down the floor quickly. We weren't like, okay, everybody clear out, let Chris bring the ball up. It was like, all right, whoever's there, bring the ball up, and then we'll get it to Chris. So we can get the ball up a little faster, not let Jrue guard him the whole way up, make Chris expend more energy.
That's almost concerning to me too, to be honest, because I think that's a better basketball play, but he's been so stubborn to this point where he's like, I'm going to take it up every time. But now he's not. So what's going on?
Yeah.
And he keeps passing up open shots, right? And are you just not in rhythm? Or are you not wanting to shoot because of something else?
And what was he in game 1? 16 to 24?
Something along those lines, yeah.
That's just off the top of my head. I know it was a lot of shot attempts and he shot them at a very high percentage. And now it's like, it again, just reminds me of the Lakers series where Dennis Schroeder was playing 14 feet away from him because they viewed him as that little of a threat. It's not that bad here. They're still respecting him, and I think they have to, but That's the biggest concern, and this is what happens with CP3. Some kind of nagging injury, some kind of little thing that throws him off at a crucial time in the playoffs. It's happened later than in most years here. We have 3 days, basically, so it's another extra day off in between, unlike earlier in this series and the rest of the playoffs. Is that enough time to get right?
I still think it's in his brain, but your question applies. Like, is it enough time to do whatever mental gymnastics you have to do? But like, it was like Devin Booker in the last game. I didn't think it was an injury because so much was just stupid decisions. Like getting the switch you want, and Chris Paul did this all night. You get the switch you want, right? Because you wanna break them down, and you get it, and then you just shoot it. Like getting that switch just to shoot a contested three, so the switch meant nothing at all. You didn't try to get some space. You didn't try to go around them. Like, so what was it all for? And because of that, was there a better action we could have run? I would say probably that play.
That has happened frequently, I think, with Chris Paul, where we end up, getting the ball up top, and then all of a sudden he just dribbles it, and then we're down to 6 seconds on the shot clock and can't run a set, and then all of a sudden we got to make a pass on a hurried three, or Chris Paul pulls up in the mid-range. And normally I like Chris Paul mid-range shots, but we get into these times where like all of a sudden the offense stops and we don't run 0.5 offense like we've been running all season. Yeah. And that's when we score. The ball's moving. That's when we score. When we run sets, pick and roll, move the ball around. And then at times it just grinds to a halt.
It felt like we got there tonight where it was about 4 minutes left and we were up by like 2 possessions, by like 4 or something. And we started running like, okay, we need to start milking the clock. And it's like, but like, why? If you're up 20, I love that. If you're up 4, no, I don't think that's good. And then we had some stupid turnovers. You look back at this game, and what is optimistic to me is we gave it away, but like we literally gave it away. We had some dumb turnovers. Giannis had a block on an Ayton alley-oop that was like.
Did we ever see a replay of that?
No, I don't know how he got that high. That was ridiculous. That was, to me, that was like not the importance, but that was like a LeBron chase down. Like that was an unbelievable defensive play.
It's not all that different. It was a tie game with a little more time left, but I mean, LeBron's was obviously at crunch time, and this was like a minute 7, and change left. Yeah, so I'm not saying it is the same, but I think it's fair to at least bring it up in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, and
that's an iconic moment for him.
And then I was even saying like I would have liked Booker to shoot that, and it's like, well, I can say that now. But if that had been a dunk, when that's majority of time, that's what it's going to be. You're happy with that.
The only thing I'll say, not that it excuses Giannis, who made a phenomenal play, was that pass was not great.
Yeah,
no, it was too high.
If Ayton doesn't have to go get that because it's like going behind the backboard, I don't think Giannis has time to get there, or if he does, it's a foul. But credit to him, he made a phenomenal play. So I mean, you can't take that away.
We just had a lot of boneheaded plays at the end. We had and multiple turnovers, and I can vouch for this because I said it earlier to Chris. What's killing us is the turnovers. What's super killing us is there's so many of them are live ball turnovers. Yep. So they're stealing it and then they're going down, and that's their bread and butter. And what do we have at the end of the game? We had that horrible Jay Crowder pass to Ayton. Mm-hmm. It was basically just like giving it to Giannis. And thinking back, how many fast breaks did they have there at the end?
Several. And they were struggling to score in the half court.
It was a bunch.
Other than Middleton bailout jumpers, they were not doing much in the latter 15 to 18 minutes of that game.
They're not a good half-court team, is the thing. Their points, what do you get? There's some kind of rate for point. Basically, it's really bad. It's like 94. It's horrible.
Yeah, points per 100 possessions.
But they make up for it with the second chance shots. They make up for it with the turnover game.
Something that I'm curious your guys' opinion on. Did we keep Booker out too long in the fourth?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is another thing that Chris can vouch for me. I was like, first of all, I don't think you take him out there. And, you let him burn, and hopefully he is smart enough. He did not show that tonight. But it's the same thing as Ayton. Like, not as bad tonight, but what are you holding him for in a way? He's hot then. If he plays, you're going to keep getting good minutes from him. You sit him, you let them chip away and chip away and chip away. I would love to see where we were when he got taken out, and then like when he came back in. I think they did make a run when he was sitting, and then he comes back in. He probably should have fouled out. I think it was like almost one of the very next plays. So then it would have looked even worse than it was. No, I think you play him. I really do.
The only thing that bothered me is because I was kind of saying that we probably need to bring him in around the 7-minute mark, was I was thinking. Because I understand not wanting to pick up a sixth early in the fourth. My problem with it, honestly, was the fact that I saw repeatedly Book get up, go to the score table, and then we scored and he came back. Mm-hmm. It looked like Monty was trying to play okay, well, we still got the lead, so let's just hold him off as long as we can, which isn't a winning mentality, which isn't a step on your throat type of mentality. It's, oh, let's hold on. I think that is what I have the biggest problem with. Not necessarily that he sat for a while, because like you said, it wasn't exactly his smarts on not picking up his sixth foul, because, well, it means he should have picked up his sixth foul.
Yeah.
But that back and forth thing, I think, can throw somebody off for rhythm.
I like the decision to pull him when he got his fourth.
Yeah,
there's about 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter, and at that point, I mean, he's not too far off from when he might normally come out anyways. So at that point, I was like, okay, that's fine. Pull him, and maybe he plays the whole fourth. The fifth foul, which was horseshit to begin with, for the record.
Yep.
That was an absolute flop by PJ Tucker, and they should not have rewarded it. At that point, I think you have to leave him in. And it's weird because it looked like he was fighting to stay in on the fourth foul in the third quarter. And the fifth one, he kind of seemed resigned to his fate and came out. And that's not like a negative on Booker. I don't know. I'd love to know the thought process. I think we can kind of guess it just based on the context of the game. But to me, yeah, I think, especially knowing that Chris Paul is clearly not at his best, it was too important to have him out there. And if he gets his sixth, he gets his sixth.
Yeah.
And to the point, he has to be smarter than that. He can't pick up the fifth in a situation like that, whether or not it was the correct call. And he absolutely cannot be getting himself in a spot like that on a 3-on-1 where he's trying to pick up his sixth.
Just let him go,
Just
man.
give up the layup.
They got a layup anyway. I'm sure you saw. He risked his sixth. The grace of God didn't get called. And then Giannis had it and laid it up.
Yeah.
So what was it all for?
So I looked it up. At 10:50, he picked up his fifth foul at 10 minutes, 50 seconds left in the fourth quarter. We were up 85-79. He sat out until 5 minutes, 55 seconds in the fourth quarter, and it was 93-90. So they cut it down by 3 points in that span, which normally, I mean, you'd take that in the sense that Booker sat for 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, and we only gave up -3 on that. But still, you bring him in a minute or two earlier and let him get a couple buckets in there. That could be the difference. I don't know.
Plus minus is a flawed stat sometimes, but sometimes it also accurately reflects what happened on the court. Devin Booker, a 0. Chris Paul, a -10 in a 6-point loss.
Yep.
Now, to show that futility, Cam Johnson was a -9, and he clearly was not the reason why we lost this game.
Yep. But
I'm just saying, between the backcourt, at least in this game, that's reflective of what happened here. Mm-hmm. It's unfair at times, but this is one where this is on Chris Paul. It's on the team as a whole. Defensively down the stretch, they let a couple things slide. They hadn't been all game. But if Chris Paul is better, we're up 3-1.
Yeah.
Which is why he's pictured.
I shouldn't feel as bad as I do, though, because, we just keep going back to it. We won 2 games. No one in Milwaukee was like, oh, man, the series is over. We're going to do what we're supposed to do. And they did. But I feel like maybe it's because we've been spoiled this postseason so far. I do feel like the Suns' reaction, just from the way that we feel, what I've been reading on the message boards, this series is over. And I guess I just don't understand it.
It's weird seeing Suns fans with that level of confidence. And maybe it's because this is a newer batch of Suns fans. Because I have been confident. I've seen the play that I feel confident in the Suns' ability to win. But the back of my mind, there's been this whole thing. I'm going to get punched in the gut. I know I am. This is I'm an Arizona sports fan. I'm a Phoenix sports fan. I'm going to get hurt.
But they're not. The question mark to me is the reactiveness. Is when we're winning, we're the best team on earth. When we lose a game, well, all of a sudden it's Bucks and 6. That's the Suns fans saying Bucks and 6 now. So that's the part that confuses me.
The old adage is the series doesn't start until a home team loses a game. So the series hasn't even started yet. So,
what a relief!
Yeah, and some series never start.
Yeah.
That's there was also a quote I heard from Steve Nash, and I thought it was apt. And I don't remember if you guys told me or someone else told me.
Yeah, I told you it.
Yeah, it was you. Yeah, with the when you win a game, it feels like you'll never lose again, and when you lose a game, it never feels like you're going to win again. And It's so true, and the fans are being extra reactionary on this. I don't think that's the case. I don't think we're going to lose out the rest of the playoffs. I am more worried than I was before, obviously. Being up 2-0 or being tied 2-2 is a significant difference in your position. But we still got home court advantage, so we can win this, and we should win this. I just don't know if we will.
2 of us picked Suns in 5. That's obviously wrong now. 1 of us picked Suns in 6, which is still in play. And hopefully what happens, that would be great. But it wasn't like we'd never had any respect for the Bucks. And that's what I'm seeing from some more casual Suns fans, which is, it's 2-0. They suck. This is over. It's like the Bucks are here for a reason. They had their own things you could point to along the way, like the Brooklyn injuries and whatnot, just like we did. But at the end of the day, they're a good team. And Giannis is really, really good. And I think the idea of sweeping them was never realistic, and none of us picked him to do so because we respect Milwaukee too much for that. Now we just have to hope that the Suns themselves, the players and the coaching staff, don't respect the Bucks too much. Come out and punch them in the mouth in Game 5. Take the advantage in this series. Close it out in 7 if you have to at home. That's what would be my pick now. I'd pick Suns in 7 and hope to God I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is too much. This game, I'm happy in the sense that I feel like this has been good basketball, though. I feel like these teams are showing that they are the 2 best teams, really. Yep. And it's been fun in that sense. Like, I think these are really good basketball games. People are playing above their normal level, except for Chris Paul, and showing why they deserve to be there. And it wasn't a fluke that Kyrie got injured or LeBron got hurt or AD got hurt or whatever it is. Like, these are good teams.
And it wasn't like one play submarined us. I mean, you can argue that Chris Paul turnover was a backbreaker, but, this isn't the same as a John Paxson 3, where it's clearly the definitive thing that swung the tides, We were already trailing going into that possession. I'm sure our win expectancy was something like 25-30%. And then it was much, much worse after that. But still, it wasn't, we can't look back at this one thing and be like, that's the moment. It was a series of events, especially the last 3 minutes, and all of it kind of just snowballed.
Yeah, but that one was really...
I mean, if you had to pick one, that was the one.
Yeah, well, especially because he's been so bad. And I think at that moment we're down 2. And he turns it over, and then they go up 4. I think that's what it was, which is...
Yeah.
Hurts a lot.
I think the inbounds pass you mentioned from Crowder to Ayton is almost as painful.
Yeah.
But it was with more time left, so it's hard to put as much of a spotlight on it.
Yeah.
All right, well, enough talk about losers. Does that mean if they come back and win
a
the
little
finals,
bit, yeah.
That's going to be kind of mean. I'm on the wrong screen. No wonder I can't get the mouse to go over. Come on, mouse. There you are. Look, it's on the screen. It's pointing at Shaun. Oh, wow, cool.
Hi.
I felt like I had to bring it up on the show because, anytime one of us has a good individual moment, which, by the way, before we segue into this, Dave, your kids were on TV.
They were. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay, yep.
Talk about that first before we talk about me.
Sure. So Caitlin, my 7-year-old, is very interested in crafts and things like that, and has been wanting to make a lemonade stand forever, and has said how much she knows I like Suns and has wanted to go to a Suns game and everything. So she made a lemonade stand over the weekend, and I just tweeted a picture saying that hey, she was wanting to raise money so we can go to a Suns game. And I got a tweet back from a news reporter at ABC 15 here in Phoenix saying like, hey, can we send somebody out for an interview for you? I'm like, well, sure. It's also 110 outside, so we're only going to be out here for like 15 more minutes because she happened to catch me after we'd already been outside for like an hour and a half. So they couldn't bring anybody out, but they emailed me back and forth, asked to use the picture on the news, and it was nice. I mean, Caitlin made almost $50 in her lemonade stand, made the lemonade herself, made the sign for it herself. So it was fun, and I think she was really excited to do it. So it was nice, and then it was kind of cool seeing her picture on the TV.
I only had 2 questions. You answered one was, did she make enough to get you to the Suns game? Almost, it sounds like.
If she had just sold 20 times as much, she might have been able to get the worst seats in the house.
1 ticket.
And then I was going to ask, was the lemonade actually any good?
Oh, it was delicious.
Okay.
It's actually really, really good. She does a good job with it.
Good for her.
I think to reach that level of sales, it has to be decent. You can get some pity sales from people who feel bad or whatever, or your own parents who put some money in the jar, but it has to be at least decent to get that kind of money.
You're going to let her keep that money, right? Like.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. She what we did is she was actually smart about it. She knows that like something like Facebook or social media exists, so she asked Courtney to post just, hey, I'm going to be doing this, not come out and give me money, but like, Caitlin's going to be running a lemonade stand. Come and see if you'd like some lemonade. And people from the neighborhood showed up. It was kind of nice.
They're going to be like, she was really smart. She's invested in. Like, wow.
She put that $50 in a Dogecoin and
wow, making that $50 work for her. That's great.
Great.
She's actually already bought tickets for Game 5 with her investments. It's amazing.
Wow.
That's smart. I mean, get the college fund going now. It's only going to keep going up.
See, I asked the wrong question. Did she have enough for you? No, but she had enough for herself. So
right.
that's great.
So after that, I thought I meant to do that, and it was going to be a segue, and I forgot about it until just now because I don't remember why. But
individual accomplishments. That's
yeah,
why.
Essentially, that was what triggered it.
Vicariously through my children. That's all it is.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I don't have any kids, so the only thing I can do is make myself look better. And
Uncle Chris.
over the weekend, I played in my first PDGA sanctioned tournament, an A tier, which is the highest tier that's not on the National Pro Tour, which obviously I'm not going to be on. Pretty big event, good turnout. This was the amateur weekend. The professional weekend was the weekend before, where they had like a few different notable players, including one in the top 20 in the world who won the event. This was all for amateurs. There's a couple different brackets of them and whatnot, but I entered on a whim. I had signed up a couple months ago, and I think was going to be an alternate, and eventually some spots opened up. And even though I had some family in town, I said, you know what the hell? Let's play in it. I just would like to see kind of where I stand. I feel like my game's pretty decent, but I have no idea like what to expect as far as competition. And then I won the event.
Well, it's cool too because you had an okay first day, like good, like you were in the mix of
Tied
the
for
top
sixth.
people.
Yeah.
And then day 2, I think you jumped to second, and like we were talking about, you were in range of the first place, and then obviously on the last day of the tournament you surpassed them and then was able to hold them off. So like it was a very cool, you didn't just go out there and was like, yeah, I killed everybody, I was ahead the whole time, and it was no competition. It's like you really like worked for it, and that shows like poise and composure. I think Chris Paul can maybe learn something from you.
Damn.
We got the wrong Chris out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look at me. I got a shirt. I can do something.
Oh.
So I started off, I was 3 over on 5 holes to start the tournament. I actually noticed like my hands were shaking a little bit on the first tee. And it's just something that feels different about actual competition. And I've played in rec leagues. We've played important like games to win a title in volleyball and some of the city leagues and a couple softball games that were pivotal. So it's not like I'm completely rusty on that stuff, but I don't know. It was just different because they have somebody there announcing people on the first tee, and there's this whole formal like stat keeping showcase, and it's all branded and all that stuff. I shanked my shot on 1. I double bogeyed 5. I was 3 over after 5. I was 5 over after 11. So I guess you could say after that point I was even the rest of the tournament. And one of the things I was going to bring up, I have 2 stories to tell. One was that I was going to show this. The viewers can see it. The people at home cannot. I took notes both of the first 2 days because I don't know. I wanted to kind of keep it down while it was fresh. Is this no longer always on top? It is not. Hold on. I can scroll through this. I can fix this. The Skype call cut out. I can fix this.
Well, you had to also do something while you're waiting.
Hey, there we go.
So you might as well take notes.
Yeah, I wasn't doing it live. I did it after the round each time because I have a pretty good memory. So I could go back and be like, all right, I wasn't 100% sure which disc I threw at all times, but I could remember some of the pivotal ones. I've screwed up and made this window only cover the bottom half, but whatever. You can kind of see the idea where I put down the hole number, the stroke average of the field, how many birdies were on the hole, and then like what I did. And I made bad shots in bold.
Horrible tee shot.
Yeah.
Looked not bad.
Horrible shot.
Yeah, the 11, I made a vow I wasn't going to bogey on day 3, and I did not because I had played it terribly the first 2 days. And I also put like italics for shots that I thought were flukish or lucky that I couldn't replicate again.
Okay.
And so I was going through round 1, and I was like, I threw 8 awful shots and 4 fluky ones that were in my benefit. And I kind of tracked. I made 7 bogeys, I guess 6 bogeys and a double, and I made 4 birdies. They weren't all tied to the fluky or bad shots, but there's a lot to that. I just wanted to cut that out the second day, and I only shot 2 over the second day. And then going into the final day, I was back 2 in solo second, and I was looking at the guy who was in first, a guy named James. Good guy. And I was looking at his scorecards. He was almost no birdies and almost no bogeys. He was just playing really smart, safe golf in a field where you didn't have to go birdie crazy to win. So I realized I needed to put pressure on him early. And what I did was I birdied 2 of the first 6. We were tied. And from there, he couldn't really afford to play too safe. I think that put a little bit of pressure on him. And then I only made 2 bogeys the rest of the way, parred out, and clinched the title.
What was the final, like, how many strokes ahead did you end with from him? Ooh.
He was in second.
Clutch.
So on 18, well, let's go back a little bit. We were tied. I was up 1 on 8 when he bogeyed. We both bogeyed 9. He missed like a 12-footer on number 12, which is a hard hole to get a 3 on. It was playing almost a stroke over par. So like a 4 is a good score there. He had like a 12-footer and it chained out left. He missed the putt. It wasn't like it was unlucky, but it could have stayed.
Yeah.
And that kind of set the stage. I missed like a 20-footer just high. Like it clipped the band and didn't stay in the basket on 14. That would have put me up 3 because he hit a tree just off the tee and scrambled to make a bogey. So I could have put him away there. It would have been, I think, 4 up with 4 to play. Instead, it was like cut down to 1. He birdied 17 and I missed like a 30-footer that could have been a birdie for myself. And on 18, I hit a tree about halfway down the fairway, and he was within about 27, 28 feet. I threw a great upshot to where I had a tap in, so he had to make it to force a playoff, and he left it just low.
So was it like was your drives and upshots really good, and your putting was like fine, or did you really come alive with the putting?
I think it was all facets were above average. Weirdly enough, I had pretty good shots off the tee most of the week, but a few of them were pretty horrendous. My upshot game was decent. If I can, I know my strengths and weaknesses at this point. I know what I got to work on if I really want to try and turn pro when I turn 40, which is kind of a goal of mine. My upshots were good, especially when I could jump putt them inside 80 feet, or if they were throws I could step into. Standstill ones I'm having a hard time with still. I don't feel like I have the mechanics to where I'm comfortable. I had one really good shot to save a par on the second day where I was underneath a tree and I could like stretch out with one leg and then like get to a knee and throw a forearm. And that was a great shot. Putting was probably a little bit better than I would expect. Definitely made more than I think I thought I would have going in. So I don't think there was any one glaring weakness. And once I eliminated some of the mental mistakes, because 3 of the 7 bad holes the first day were just throwing shots I should not have thrown. And kicking myself after for going, what are you doing? You have a better disc for this or a better line you could have taken, and trying to eliminate those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I like that. So we get a little bit of, you can't really see the trophy. It's really cool. I don't know, maybe they still got it from China or something, but it looks like kind of like handmade with like a wire that's like spun together to make like a person and a tree and throwing a disc. It's really neat. It's like, of the trophies that I've seen for stuff like this, there's actually like some care in that, where it's not just like the shitty plastic little gold man that you're like, wow, so you
dude
bought this for 50 cents at like a dollar store. So yeah, it's really cool.
So I have to ask, did you have to pay to enter this tournament, or did you have to qualify?
It was either $70 or $75. At the higher levels, it can be closer to $100. It just depends on the tier of the tournament, the field size, etc. But paid $75 to enter, or $70. I got a $5 discount because I'm a PDGA member, and won $60 at the disc store they had there, where I got to pick up some new stuff, including one I had wanted to get and sold out online in like 5 minutes. So that was a cool find last minute. I found a couple others like, I'll get these, and now what do I want? And all of a sudden I pulled another drawer open for a second time to look, and I was like, oh shit, like there's the Scorch here. I couldn't find one of those. So I basically broke even as far as the money component. As an amateur, obviously we're not eligible for prizes. So they put some money towards that and then give that back in what you might have spent on discs. At the pro level, of course, it's actually a purse. But
makes sense. You answered my second question of how much you won. And then I got to give you props for taking notes. I think that is a severely underrated part of becoming better at any sport, or any task really, is taking notes and re-reviewing them. You can correct a lot of mistakes that you wouldn't have realized in the moment when you reflect back on them.
It wasn't something I really went in planning to do. Just after the first day, maybe because I was so up and down, I was like, all right, I got to kind of track what happened here. How much of this is correctable, and how much of it was just like not executing or a bad break, or something that wouldn't necessarily happen again. And when I went through and I cataloged it, I was like, God, there's really 8 shots I want back, and I'm 3 over after one day. So even if I just correct half of those, which is basically what I did, like I can score better. And then the final day, I won't say I played mistake free. I definitely got lucky on one tee shot where I ripped it right and it somehow got through the trees and popped back out of the fairway. But I played pretty solid, and I was really, if I can pat myself on the back, I was most impressed by my focus. I was locked in the third day. to the point where I almost left a disc behind, and my uncle who was caddying, because he was in town, was like, "Hey, you left," and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I was just thinking about like my tee shot in the next hole, and I wasn't even thinking about that stuff. So I was pleased. I haven't really been in a pressure situation like that, and I never really felt it. Like on 18 up 1, I was a little bit like, all right, like this is important, but I wasn't nervous, and I thought that was kind of cool.
God, hearing that, like just like the competition, we're going to be in Phoenix next week, and we're looking like we might be able to play ball. And now I'm like, it's like, oh, it'd be nice if people were there that we could actually like play like 5-on-5. And now I'm like, man, hearing this, I like really want that badly now.
I know, Shaun, you're probably in a similar boat as me, but the only time I felt that level of competition, that level of pressure for competition was high school basketball. And that was the best. Like I remember like thinking, man, this means so much. I was so excited. Like I love playing, and it's like, oh, I'm playing our rivals. I'm playing St. Mary's. Can't wait to beat them. I get like nervous and shaky before the game, and then you kind of get that first bucket or the first bump, and you're like, okay, I got this. It's hard to replicate that. So I'm very envious of you that you were able to get that feeling again at this, at this age. I mean,
and I never really had it.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything like that in high school. I didn't make any teams. I sucked. I tried out for golf and tennis, and I was balls.
I think it's good that you have it now. I will disagree with Dave, though. Like, it's certainly more intense because, I mean, there's fans. I can't think of the last time I had, like, actually significant amount of fans for anything. But I get that feeling of competition, like, always. Like, it doesn't take a lot. I love competing on it. But, like, I would say it means more to me if we can get 5-on-5, and especially if the three of us can be on the same team. To me, that's all I need. Whether it's like shitty basketball in Phoenix or when we do pick up in flag, like I'll get that feeling again. Which is why I like recording it so much. It's like, yeah, does it really mean a lot? No, but it means a lot to me, so I like it.
You're insane. That's the problem.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, yeah, probably.
So I'm over the moon about it, to be honest.
Yeah, you did it.
I think I realized a few holes in, especially when I birdied 4 and 6, I was like, when we were tied, I even took a screenshot. I had to be honest. I took a screenshot with my phone of me being in the lead. Just be like, well, even if I lose, at least I can be like, look, I was a threat, and I came in, I was like, I should finish top 15. I hope I finish top 5 or so. I think I could if it goes well. So if I had fallen out of the lead and finished second, I would have been a little disappointed, but I would have been like, hey, awesome, like. Clearly, I can hang at this level, and I can start to look to improve and move up from here. Winning the whole thing, I mean, again, I wasn't like it shocked me, especially going into it second on the final day, but I had no idea where I stood. I've been playing pretty seriously for 2 years now, and to take it down was awesome.
Well, so I have two last questions. One is, what would they have done if you had tied? Because you were very close to that.
It would have been a playoff. I assume it would have started on hole 1, which was a hole I did not play especially well for the week.
That would be
I threw 3 bad tee shots. I threw 2 great up shots on the second and third days to make pars. Bogeyed it the first day. Bogeyed the second hole the first day, too. Got to a bad start.
Yeah. But so maybe you would have done better, like, after warming up and going back to it. But, I mean, it's good that we avoided it.
It is definitely possible. I throw a lot better a few holes in. I need to start throwing before a round. If I really want to take this seriously, I need to stop stepping onto the first tee and having it be my first shot of the day. I usually warm up putting, but I need to actually be throwing because I can't be noodle arming the first throw. Yeah. So, yeah, it could have been better because I would have been hot, but who knows? And
then, so what now? Like, do you have to... I don't know about have to, but will you, whether because you want to or you have to, be moving up a level for like the next tournament, or do you think this is a good spot for right now?
It's a complicated answer. The short version is there's a whole rating system coming out of the 3 rounds of the weekend, since I actually have formal tournament rounds on my PDGA page, which also says like 1 career victory, which is like, oh. I'm 1 for 1. I'm never going to be any better than this. It's only going to be downhill from here. Yeah, I'm done. I retire. I'm 900 rated after those 3 rounds. For perspective, the best players in the world are 1050. Like there's 4 players that have reached that echelon. Most professionals are 1,000 plus. I would say most good amateurs are 950 plus. So 900 is a solid number. But to compete at the amateur level and even think about turning pro in the 40 plus division when I turn that age, I have to improve still.
Yeah.
So my goal is to keep getting better.
That's not a wide margin. It's an odd scoring system.
Kind of. It's hard to quantify. There's a complicated formula behind it, but essentially it's about 10 points a stroke. It depends on the course you're playing, the difficulty, the field's performance, because maybe it's like a shitty weather day and it's super windy, so everybody scores worse. So what would be a bad score is still pretty good because everybody suffered, right? But that would basically tell me that, yeah, if Paul Macbeth, the guy we talked about in the James Conrad video, came out here and played this course, he'd probably be 15 shots better than me, which is almost one a hole. So, that's a really simplified way of looking at it, but it's somewhat apt. So I have to improve. I know areas in which I can improve. Some of that's just going to be practice. Some of that is working on a couple specific things, but that's my goal. I'm entered into the next highest amateur division for a tournament in October, which I will not win.
You said that about this one. You said that about this one.
I wouldn't have said that about this one, though, to be honest. I would have thought at least it was possible. I didn't really have a sense of where I stood. So coming in, I would have been like, I'm not going to win. But I could maybe if I'm as decent as I think I am, or the field is worse than I think it is, I have a shot. I know what the field posted in the next bracket up in this same tournament. I think I would have finished 12th or 13th out of like 40, which isn't awful in that bracket either. But the winning score, I think, was 8 down, and I was 5 over. So, I'm going to have a ways to go before I can actually compete in that division. But, yeah, I don't think I'm required to move up because my rating's not at a level where I would have to play in the next division. But if I improve enough, it will be. And I think I want to challenge myself anyways.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to improve.
Yeah, you have to.
After the first day, I was tied 6th, and I was thinking to myself, all right, so if I finish like top 5, I'm definitely going to play in this one next time. I want to win one of these before I start to think about moving up. And I hadn't given up on the idea of winning, but I was trying to think like, okay, even after one round, I have an idea what this looks like. Well, then I won it. So now
you got to move up.
Now I got to move up. They got to kick me out.
Yep.
So we'll see. And maybe the next time I do god-awful in the next highest division, and I'll go back down for a tournament. Who knows?
You don't want that reputation anyway. It's like, oh, great, Chris is here. He always wins these. He's stealing these from us. Why doesn't he move up already? Give one of us a chance.
So the last story I want to tell, I mentioned 2, is I don't think I've ever told this on air. When I was a kid, some parts of my childhood I've talked about, like I was obsessed with numbers, and Wheel of Fortune always appealed to me. I liked spinning things, ceiling fans. I was kind of dumb. And one of the things I did when I was little that is interesting to me now where I'm at 36 is I would be in my room. I had an electronic typewriter, and I would make fake newspapers based on golf results that I made up. So I would have I would take everybody on the PGA Tour, and I would give them one round of scoring based on how much I liked them. So Phil Mickelson shot like a 66 in the first round, but some other, who the fuck, like Mark O'Meara was going to take a 74 in one of his rounds. And then I would roll 2 6-sided dice, and that would be like, so if you got a 2, you shot a 66 in the second round. If I got 12, you shot a 76 or whatever that is, right? So I'd make these fake newspapers, and now I run a newspaper. And while this is disc golf and not golf, I was actually like just looking at the PDGA live leaderboard and all the numbers and the hole by hole breakdowns. And I was like, I was practicing for this 30 years ago and I didn't know it. I had no idea. I just did it because I thought it was funny. I don't know why I was obsessed with it. I just thought it was cool to make these kind of fake newspapers with articles and standings. Sports agate, like standings and box scores have always interested me, even back then. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in it in a tournament that I won. Like, how cool is that?
You did write-ups of... What was it? Was it of Suns games or of 2K games?
2K11 had that opportunity, I believe it was.
I don't remember, but I remember you sent it to us, and it was like Boris Diaw, was too busy stuffing his face, or Vince Carter, somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And by then you were already working for the newspaper, but still, I mean,
and I was also like 25 years old or something. Yeah, I was still doing it.
But it's like, I think that stuff is cool. Yeah. Like, clearly you're in the right field, even though it may not always feel like it at times, but that's cool. Dave is the most beige person we know. So clearly he's in the correct field as well.
Uncalled for. Just I'm just sitting here enjoying Chris's story.
That's true. He's being a good friend.
Let's praise him, and just bam.
He's like, I sure hope no one comes and punches me for no reason.
I know. You don't get the license plate on that drive-by.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great. We have a lot of stuff still to discuss. I have a debate with Dave that we started today about video games and what makes a good game and what makes a game that Dave likes, aka terrible games. So, plenty to come.
I like how he throws a jab at you and you're like, why are you doing this? He's like, yeah, you're right. We were in a good one. And he throws another jab right afterwards.
Yeah. So we don't know when we're gonna record again.
Oh yeah, I gotta go to that
If
slide.
the Suns lose, then I don't know what we're gonna do.
So yeah, next week we were originally gonna take off because we're on vacation. If the Suns win a title, we're gonna have to record something after in the moment because we're all gonna be together no matter what that looks like. Whether we're watching the game, we somehow get tickets, we go downtown just to be around it. We have no idea. Okay. Games are Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday next week. If there's a game 7, then even if we were going to record after a Suns title, then it wouldn't be till Friday. Or I could post it super late Thursday night. What we're saying is, I don't know what the hell is happening. If the Suns lose, there's not going to be a show next week. That's the one thing I can guarantee you because we're not going to want to talk about it. We're going to be off. We're just going to take some time to stew and sit in our feelings a little bit, okay?
And then we'll talk about it later.
If the Suns win, we'll probably have something that comes out at some point, whether it's here or I don't know what that looks like. We'll figure that out when the time comes. I don't even want to jinx anything else by putting it out there. So there could be a show next week. There might not be. If the Suns do end up winning, we might skip the following week instead. We'll, keep everybody posted as we go, but that's kind of what we're looking at. It'll be number 492. We're actually now 2 months away from 500, which is another thing we'll have to talk about off air. But that's kind of the plan for next show. So that's it for now. We're going to hope for good things from the Suns in the next, well, hopefully just 5 days, but, maybe, or 6, but maybe more. Maybe that's it. Maybe they lose in 6. We don't know.
It's true.
Fingers crossed. That's the end of this show. In between episodes, whether that's 1 week or 2, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com or youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week. And one final plug, if for some reason the overlap catches you where you watch this show and our Cold Steel playthrough, we have live episodes coming up tonight, Thursday, and tomorrow night as we finish the game. We're like 130 hours in, and it's finally happening. So if you want to join the live stream, comment along with us. The chat was really active for the debut. I expect it's going to be the same for this one, so join us there. We'll see you next time.